everyone would take a different approach to that. And you would see that the contention would, like, everyone would be headbutting each other if we each had what each other's pieces were.
Because if you don't have trust and faith in each other, and you don't believe in each other's ability to grow, you're going to, of course, grow apart because you're going to be so afraid to bring anything challenging up that you're going to brush it under the rug, and inevitably you're going to grow apart instead of together.
Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals from all over the world, welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast. This is episode number 20. 20, oh my goodness. 20, the big 2-0. Huge milestone.
Very exciting.
Considering my other show just surpassed 1,000, I'd say we're slightly behind.
Holy schmoly.
But hey, big things start small.
They do.
All right, so for episode number 20, are you afraid of outgrowing your partner? This is a huge challenge for anyone goal-oriented. And I know that a lot of our listeners are very, very goal-oriented, vision-oriented, self-belief, self-development, holistic self-improvement. And so this can be a really big challenge for people who met their partner when they maybe weren't as into personal development. And then they got the bug of personal development. They got hooked on phonics, so to speak. I know I did after 26. And I've been here where I was afraid to outgrow my partner at the time. And it's actually happened to me several times. And I'm very grateful to say at this stage of my life, I'm not afraid to outgrow my partner because she's the most growth-oriented person I've ever met in my entire life. But two things. Number one, thank you to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this podcast. We love you. And number two, ladies first, love.
Thanks, love. Setting the groundwork for us. So, Tony, are you afraid of outgrowing your partner? So this one, when you and I came up with this podcast episode, we looked at the biggest fear and pain points for this one, because you and I coaching couples all over the world and being able to have such an intimate look at relationships, we know that, like you said, this is one of the biggest, juiciest topics that we get into with couples. And it's one of the most, I would say, touchy-feely topics as well, because there is such a fear around outgrowing your partner. I know for me, being goal-oriented, it has in the past been probably the scariest thing. And I know that a lot of our listeners can relate to that, because when you feel as though you are in love with someone and you care about them, you want to see them just shine and be the best version they can be for themselves. And you see that that's possible for them. Because again, you're the one that has the goals. You're the ones that have the dreams. You're the ones that have created and creatively built a vision of the future that looks different and brighter than it is currently. You start to look at your partner and say, wait a second, are they creating that too? Is that what's in their minds as well? And when you start to notice that your partner maybe isn't doing that, and that they don't see this bright future for themselves, and they maybe don't have a degree of self-belief that you do, and are confident at just kind of failing forward to make sure that that becomes their reality, you start to notice a stark difference between you and your partner, and it can really feel daunting. And sometimes it can feel hopeless. It can feel like, just a big unknown. And we know in relationships, when there's a big unknown, the big fat question mark that's there, our brains inevitably start to scramble of, can we be together? Will we stay together? And how is this going to all work out? If you're someone with big goals and dreams, or even just goals and dreams in general, you have some degree of clarity around that. Being in a room, or particularly in a partnership with someone who doesn't, you have struggled through this so much. And so what we intend on doing in this episode for you is to help you recognize, number one, if you are in that situation, because you likely are if you clicked into this, and peel back the layers that are into this and understand what are some simple ways to not outgrow your partner, or if that is the biggest fear, to not have fear itself manifest, which Alan will get into later. So, babe, there's 3 scenarios that you and I brought up for this podcast in particular. Help share with the listeners what we have done to help break it into 3 simple buckets for our listeners to kind of feel heard and seen in.
Before I go into the 3 scenarios, I want to share this. So I was on stage, one of my very first speeches, and I put up a slide of a puzzle. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I want everyone here to imagine that your job is to put this puzzle together. And it was a ocean with an island on it. Mm. And you have to put it together faster than one of your friends or your partner or whatever.
It's exciting.
And they didn't see the cover. So you see what this puzzle's supposed to look like. And it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. And you're in a room with this partner or this person. And there's 1,000 pieces splayed out on the floor. Mm-hmm. 2,000 because there's both people doing the puzzle.
Gotcha.
One person saw the cover, the vision. Mm-hmm. And the other person has no idea what the puzzle's supposed to look like. Yeah.
That's so good. I'm so glad you brought that forward, because that is what it feels like sometimes.
And my point in that speech was, without vision, it's going to be very difficult to figure out which ones are the border pieces and what it's supposed to look like. It's going to be, how hard is it going to be? First of all, who's going to finish the puzzle faster? Obviously, the person who saw the cover. And I said each puzzle piece is your actions, your daily actions. Mm-hmm. What you do and don't do, think and don't think, feel and don't feel,
powerful,
believe and don't believe. How can you take daily actions when you don't know what you're trying to build, the puzzle you're trying to create? Mm-hmm. And so in this scenario, if you're with an intimate partner and you're building 2 different puzzles, or one partner has this grand vision and has seen the cover of the puzzle and the other partner has no idea what you're building, it's going to feel like your partner is not on your team. Mm-hmm. It's going to feel like, what are you doing? That piece doesn't go there. Right? And we've been there. So, not you and I,
not
but
on the same page. I don't get it.
I know, because we're writing 2 different books.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Okay, so the 3 scenarios. Scenario 1 is both people see the cover of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And they both have the same clear vision, or they have different visions, but they come together and they communicate that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Second scenario is one person has a vision, and this is the common one, and the other partner has never seen the cover of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to be a team and you're trying to do the same puzzle, but one person's never seen the cover. And there's a constant tension between what you should put the puzzle piece down, where you should put it, how you should put it, and the other partner disagrees constantly, or vice versa. And then the third scenario is neither one has a vision, neither one has seen the cover, and you've just got puzzle pieces splayed across the room, and you're just out here having a pool party. No, I'm kidding. But you're just winging it. And a lot of couples really are just winging it. And a lot of times what I've found happens is you meet your partner in college or right after college, or maybe at a company when you're young, you're in your early 20s or whatever. And maybe back then the main focus in your life or focal point was fun and enjoying yourselves. And then you evolve, and all of a sudden one of the partners has a massive wake-up call and an awakening and creates this massive vision or mission, goals, dreams, all of that. And the other partner didn't. And so what once worked really well when you were both just winging it with puzzle pieces splayed all over the room, now all of a sudden one partner starts grabbing all the pieces and putting them in this one clear vision, and the other partner's like, I don't even know if I want that.
Yeah.
And so these are the 3 scenarios, and whichever one you find yourself in, or maybe you found yourself in all different 3 of them, I know that with my past relationships, when I created, after 26, I got in a tough car accident, and I created this massive vision for my life after that. I remember I was with a partner who had already achieved all her dreams. She was working as an ER nurse for 2 different hospitals. She paid off her debt, consolidated her loans. She was living her dream. And my dreams just got started. Now, obviously they didn't just get started. I've always had big goals and dreams, but my new mission, my new dreams, my evolved version of those dreams, I should say, just was getting started. And so here we are in our mid-20s, and I'm just at the beginning of my journey, or at least that's how I feel. And she's kind of done in many ways. And that caused a lot of challenges. And so that's why we're talking about this episode is it can be very, very painful. And quite frankly, I did outgrow that relationship, and we did go our separate ways. And I'm grateful that happened, because now I'm with my baby, who has a grander vision than I even did prior to me. And then we created an even bigger puzzle together.
So thanks for that, babe. I want to bring this down into like, not that that's not practical application. I personally appreciate the imagery of puzzle making and puzzle pieces, because growing up, actually, my mom loves puzzles. And so that's something that we used to do. So it was always interesting to see how each person who was contributing to this one puzzle, and they'd usually be like 1,000 pieces, what the approach of each person would take. And having a shared vision, a shared goal to, number one, complete the puzzle. Number two, complete it in a way that it actually looks like the cover. Everyone would take a different approach to that. And you would see that the contention would, like, everyone would be headbutting each other if we each had what each other's pieces were. So my approach, instead of the borders, which was my mama's approach, and I'll bring this full circle, was putting the colors together that made the most sense. Like, for example, if it was the beach in the analogy, put all the blues together. Yeah. If it was the sand, put all of the whites together, right? So trying to make sure that I take that approach, whereas the border approach was really good for my mom. Yeah. My grandmother at the time, she didn't want anything to do with putting the puzzle together. She didn't even want to contribute to taking advantage of the puzzle pieces and what goes where. And when I found out and got, kind of in her brain, the reason, because she never really did puzzles when she grew up. That was never something that she grew up doing or that her family did. And so she didn't have confidence within herself to even contribute to that vision, to achieving that goal. So she didn't have any confidence. And so when I taught her, having high self-belief that I could complete this puzzle, what she could do in different approaches to have her just kind of fail forward, she ended up starting to enjoy it a little bit more. And so we see that in couples, and the practical application that I wanted to talk about, that was just kind of a side tangent, but the practical application in this is how couples spend their time. So one of the things that you and I talked about was like, okay, after people come home, quote unquote, from work or whatever it is, there oftentimes is like an unwind period where couples will have an idea, right? A vision or a goal of how they want to spend their time post work, post their contributions in the world. And when you get in a relationship, that might look different in your 20s than it does when you have kids, right? When your kids are growing up, or when you are building businesses, or one partner is building a business, or you are building businesses and you have kids, right? So you have these partners that get into a way of being and a way of doing that might look very different than the other partner to what you had said. Spending time together after you guys have contributed to the world or had, a long day at work, what that looks like. One partner might want to spend her time building her business, and the other partner might just want to relax, right? That's scenario 2 that you had mentioned, where one person maybe has a vision that they're building towards. And so the way in which their night looks is a little bit different than their partner, who might not have those goals and dreams. They might not want to build a business. They might not really have any vision of what that night would look like. So then you have those 2 scenarios that you mentioned left over, number 1 and number 3. I believe number 1 that you had posed
was that they both have a vision and have communicated it and are working together as a team toward it. That's the rare one.
That's the rare. So I'm going to leave that one for last. Okay. The most common that we see in partnerships is, in this example, two partners, they come home, they have no idea what they want to do, how they want to spend the rest of their evening, who's cooking dinner, what food even looks like. If you have kids, like who's taking care of the kids and taxiing them around for their sports. Like there's no sort of plan. You guys are just both living in the moment, and you can do that because neither of you have goals, dreams, or a vision for what the night's going to look like. And I found with a lot of clients, actually, this is very common when you're younger because, again, you're living in the moment. You don't have a lot to lose, right? There's, no goals and dreams that are necessarily created because at that moment in time, you likely haven't had a lot of come to Jesus moments, if you will, or massive pain. And babe, you had massive pain through that car accident that kind of made you wake up to what's important to you in life and create a vision that had brighter goals. Mm-hmm. So when you have two partners that are just kind of going with the flow, what we find is that you guys aren't really going to outgrow each other much because there's not much to grow into. And so that's actually the relationships that get very stagnant and just kind of, get very boring.
Complacent.
Yeah, complacent's a great word. So then scenario, the most rare scenario that you and I had mentioned is, what was it, number 3?
It was number 1. It was the first one that I mentioned.
Oh, the first one. Yep.
Both partners have a vision. And then this is actually, if you've ever seen the symbol for the we, the name of our business, by the way, is the we.
Yep.
This is the Conscious Couples podcast. And then Relationship Talks is the coaching. So those are the 3 real brands. But the business we've created is called the we. And if you've ever seen the logo of the we, it's actually a pyramid. And it's 2 smaller pyramids that make up a bigger one, masculine and feminine colors. And at the top of each pyramid is a little star, or at least in my mind it is. And then there's a bigger star. And the idea here is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So Emilia and I, prior to an evening or prior to meeting each other, both have a vision for how we want the evening to go or how we want our lives to go and the contribution we want to make, all that. And now that we share with each other what that vision is, now we can create an even grander vision together. And so 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. 2 + 2 isn't a plus, it's a multiplier.
Yeah.
And so it's like when I first met Emilia, she had her mission and her vision for how she wanted her life to go. And I had my mission and my vision and how I intended on investing my life. And now we both have created an even grander, bigger we vision.
Right.
And that's really what this episode is about, whether it's an evening when you get home from work and it's like, what's tonight look like for you? What's tonight look like for me? Let's integrate.
Yep.
But the thing is you cannot integrate visions that you don't have clarity on, and you cannot integrate visions without communicating what those are and say, hey, what's your puzzle look like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, here's the cover of mine. Let me look at the cover of yours. Oh, let's build an even better one that has the best of both worlds. Maybe it's a beach with an island, and also there's a red unicorn in the corner that has rainbow horn on it in this analogy. And that's a cooler picture, a more creative picture, and now we can work together as a team to actually build it. And I think that's really what we're trying to get to here.
Yeah.
Come check out the Relationship Talks from the Conscious Couples podcast. What's different about these relationship talks is the depth that Alan and Emilia get into when they're talking about the different problems. So for example, one of the ones we did was how to bounce back from a conflict. But it wasn't sort of your typical, here's, what you did wrong, and here's what you did wrong, and here's how you can talk about it and resolve it. Alan and Emilia went deeper and said, hey, let's explore how conflicts happen. Let's explore your communication styles. Let's see what happens when you react under stress and how you communicate with your partner. If there's a disconnect there, there's going to be conflict, and then we can start to resolve it. It's such a great and refreshing way to understand those problems and better understand myself. It's helped me grow as a person, and it's helped my relationship with my partner. I'm so grateful that I'm able to plug into this free community and just connect whenever I can and learn from these 2 spectacular human beings. I highly, highly encourage that you check it out and dive into everything that they do because it's great. Take care. Bye.
Which, and Alan and I, when we were looking at this episode, like the fear of outgrowing your partner, regardless, like say, for example, so the most common is obviously scenario number 3, where neither of you guys have, a puzzle, if you will, right? Just living by the seat of your pants. The moments like on that day to day, that means come home, you guys don't really have plans. Awesome. Cool. The most rare is scenario number 1, where both partners have a dream, have a vision, have a goal mindset where they're making a bigger puzzle piece. The way they spend their time, they're asking each other, like you do with me, love, is, okay, what does tonight look like for you, babe? What is your ideal night look like, right? That question allows me to share my vision and for you to see how you can be a team player and support that, and vice versa. That happening on the day-to-day is the complete opposite of what people with the second or third scenario, what that looks like for them. So this second scenario, the fear is really in this one, because there's not going to be a lot of fear in the first or the third, right? But it's really in that second one, because the one that has the dreams or the visions or the goals for whether it's just on the day-to-day, what your evening looks like. Maybe you just get off of work and you want to start working on your business, right? You have that vision, you have clarity on what the puzzle looks like. And my question to each one of our listeners are, do you have the courage to communicate what that looks like with your partner? Because there's a lot of fear about being abandoned, right? Or abandoning your partner. When you want to go work, let's say, for example, on your business, when it's late at night and that's the time that you typically will spend with your partner, you might be afraid of saying, babe, I really want to go work on this aspect of the business. Would you mind watching the kids? Or, hon, I really want to go, to the gym because I have these fitness goals that I'm trying to obtain. Do you want to come with? Like it's hard to do that when your partner doesn't have the dreams and goals or the clarity on his or her or their vision that you do. And that's not wrong. However, I think that a lot of people like me in the past didn't necessarily have the courage to outweigh the fear of outgrowing your partner, because I, in the past, was the one with the big dreams and the goals. And I realized in
Total
hindsight,
shocker.
Well, I realized in hindsight, because I didn't realize that at the time, because what I wanted to believe was that my partner also had high self-belief, also had really big goals, also was excited to get after it and had a clear vision of the future. But in reality, that wasn't the case. They
may or may not have pretended they do.
Right. They were feeding off of my self-belief. And I didn't realize that. And number one, I just didn't want to admit that. And I know a lot of the people that we work with are so afraid of having that vulnerable, courageous communication that says, honey, I'm afraid of outgrowing you. And here's where. I've noticed that you don't have any goals in this arena, and I'm not attacking you. I don't want to make you wrong, but I will outgrow you if we don't have this conversation. Is that something? Is this puzzle that I at least have clarity for? Something that you want to co-create with me?
Right.
That fear will keep people very silent and not bring this elephant in the room up, which, babe, to what you had said, that actually manifests in sabotaging the relationship.
Yeah. Couple scenarios really quickly, and then we do gotta bounce. So the first one is, I remember having a challenging conversation with you about fitness.
Yes.
And how I said, listen, I have a fitness goal that I'm optimizing for. I have a dream physique that I'm shooting for at 40, and I'm behind because it's a big one, but at least I'm shooting. And I'm behind, and I really need to increase my standards in this arena. And honestly, I don't feel like as supported as I would like to, because I don't feel like you have a fitness goal that's clear.
Yes.
And we talked about that, and now you've created a dream physique. It's a whole mosaic of a bunch of different, physiques that inspire you, and now we're off to the races. We're going to the gym after this. Awesome. But I had the courage, which was so hard to do, of I don't want you to feel bad. I just have a big goal here, and I need to make sure I track my calories and my macros, and that we shop a certain way, and that I'm working out. I mean, this is my 113th day in a row working out. And imagine if I had a partner who didn't work out. Like how difficult would that be for us to integrate lives when I'm 113 days straight working out? And it's not an ego thing. It's none of that. Here's what it is. You cannot co-create a vision together if both partners are not aware of the vision.
Yeah.
And if both partners don't also want the vision. The hardest part of what I do in my business at NLU is integrate everyone's visions. as the leader of that business, it's like, how do we take NLU's mission and integrate everyone's individual goals and dreams into that and weave it as this beautiful tapestry together to create this puzzle, so to speak, to bring it back down to earth. One last story here real quick. I have a client who was talking about her partner earlier, and she since did end the relationship, and she did outgrow the relationship, and she had the courage to talk about it, which I'm really proud of her for.
Yep.
But she just gave me this scenario, and I'll say it anonymously here. She said, I was literally sitting in the bathroom on my laptop sending emails for this acquisition that might happen at some big tech companies, and my little girls are in the bath, and my partner is literally in the other room watching YouTube videos about how to date an entrepreneur. Wow. This person's an early entrepreneur, and this other partner really couldn't stand how much she was working.
Yeah.
And this client of mine is a workhorse. Yeah. She, early entrepreneurship
she has dreams.
Yeah.
And that requires hard work and grit and persistence.
Exactly. And so for our listeners and viewers, if you're not an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to understand what it's like to start something brand new. The first few years are nothing short of absolutely brutal. Just not being respected. You don't have a big brand. It's just so hard. Wow. And so she felt misunderstood and unheard and unseen in that. And he was trying to learn how to date someone who didn't invest in as much quality time and was so vision oriented. Yeah, kudos to that. Anyways, they did decide to break up. And I know it's what's best for both of them because one of them does not have goals and dreams and obviously does not want to create them. But if you find yourself in this scenario, what Emilia and I are trying to say is the only wrong answer is to let the fear stay under the rug.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Be honest with yourself. Have the courage to tell your partner, listen, I don't think we're aligned here.
Yeah.
And I would love to realign. Here's my dream. And let's make it our dream.
Yeah.
And let's co-create it as a team. And I really feel like that's what matters. People say trust and communication are the most important things in an intimate relationship. And it's so true because if you don't have trust and faith in each other, and you don't believe in each other's ability to grow, you're going to, of course, grow apart because you're going to be so afraid to bring anything challenging up that you're going to brush it under the rug, and inevitably you're going to grow apart instead of together. And so that's really the tail end of what I had to say on this episode. But I'm really grateful for you, love, because you've taught me a lot of these skills, and you've helped me be super vulnerable with you. Thanks. You'll say, like, what's wrong? And I'll say, like, nothing. And then it's like, in my head, I'm like, no, it's not nothing. You're so scared of X, Y, Z. Yeah. And then you've helped me feel safe to really bring those things up. And we've always grown together after those tough conversations. And that's all we're saying here is I'd rather have a challenging conversation in the moment when you feel misaligned than to wake up one day later and go, I can't believe we let this happen. And we love each other so much, but we've drifted apart. And I don't ever want that to happen, and I don't want that for anyone listening or watching. And that's not to say that you don't have a partnership that maybe should drift apart. That's for you to decide, not us.
Right.
But the only wrong answer is to keep brushing this stuff under the rug and pretending nothing's wrong when you know something is.
Yeah. And especially too, like that will organically, the pieces will fall where they're supposed to when you are courageous and vulnerable about your truth.
Yep.
And that's what I see a lot of partners kind of holding out for because they just want to kind of keep things the way they are because they know what to expect in that regard. It's safe. So like if you were to express your vulnerable truth, which is, hey, honestly, I don't believe that you're willing or want to or believe in yourself in order to grow. I'm afraid we're going to grow apart. And what I think here is what I wrote down in my remarkable is that fear that you're actually going to outgrow your partner is a great indicator of growth and where there's a potential lack in belief, meaning you don't believe your partner is capable of growing. And that could be because you're bringing in your past and what partners haven't kind of measured up to on your partner, or there's actually evidence within your partnership that has proven to you that fear, which now has built a belief that your partner is not going to grow and they're not interested in growing, in which case validate or dissipate that fear, that belief that you have. Validate or dissipate that evidence, meaning talk to your partner and say, hey, I don't believe you want to grow here. And this is why, because whenever I tell you about my dreams, you don't necessarily feel like you don't say that you want to get on board or how can we do this? Or, it's not I don't have any evidence that's showing me that you're willing to fail forward. Like, I'll share with you what this vision is, and you're not going out there and breaking eggs. You're not applying any of the things that I'm trying to share with you, and you guys can have it will be a tough conversation, but it's so worth it, because the thing is, you don't want to have to keep that into yourself. And your partner, if they genuinely want to grow, they probably are just waiting for you to say that, so that they can show you how capable of growth they really are. We have a client that, like, she is so excited for when that vulnerable truth is brought to her by her partner that, like, we're even impressed with her growth and how quickly she responds to that. And the thing is, if that partner had not taken our guidance and said, you know what, she's actually really open to growth and open to these things. She's so ready. She's very
and
eager.
You can be the catalyst to her growth, because she doesn't have people in her life that are doing that for her. You can be that for her. That's what an intimate relationship is about anyway.
I agree.
Which is growth. Growth and contribution. I really do believe that. And quality of life, of course.
To some degree, but
This has been a long one, so I think it's time to...
Oh, you want to wrap this one up? You think it's been long?
I do.
Yeah, we could talk about this
start rapping.
literally all day, but we actually are going to go... Alan's going to be teaching me how to dribble and how to shoot pointers and get our cardios in. So we're actually stacking things.
Because I have a vision of us both being in the NBA one day.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
So tune in for our conscious couples basketball. No. But anyhow, I think that's really cool too, babe, because like you and I are learning about each other's experiences and expertise while layering on what's important to us.
Which is fitness.
Yeah.
So Emilia does Muay Thai prior to us meeting, and she's going to teach me some Muay Thai, and I've done a lot of basketball in my day. I've done some ballin'. And we're going to integrate fitness into that, which is both, we're doing a fitness journey together too. It's honestly amazing. Really cool. So I really appreciate it. Every time we talk about these things, it's like, wow.
We're cool.
We're doing some stuff. We're doing some stuff. We are cute. Okay, so every Saturday, Emilia and I do what we call Service Saturday. And we do a free relationship talks session with a listener every single Saturday. Join us. It's a half an hour long, and we're not going to sell you anything. We just want to meet our listeners, and we want to talk about some of the challenges that you're facing, and we really want to get to know you and get to know your partner. You can bring your partner, or you can do it solo. We've done both with many, many individuals all over the world. And at the end of the day, the only wrong answer is to sit back and not have the courage to jump on the phone, because I can promise you something powerful will come of it. I don't know what, but I'm consistently blown away by these conversations, because I grew up in an environment where there's not a lot of talk or learning about relationships. Yeah. And it wasn't until my mid-20s when I started really diving deep into intimate relationships and the science and the neuroscience of relationships and love languages and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know any of this in my early 20s. Yeah. And so if you're out there and this is new to you, jump on the phone. You're not going to learn and master what you don't talk about. Come talk to us about your relationship, about relationships in general. We are excited to meet you.
Yes. And on that note too, Alan and I's virtual door is always open to you too. So what we do to make sure that there are opportunities for you as the listener to get around other people that might be struggling with similar things that you have struggled with, like-minded individuals, people who want to improve their relationships genuinely, or conscious singles who want to make sure that they're preparing in advance for the best, most magnificent relationship possible. We host free live virtual events every second Thursday of the month. So this, I believe by the time this launches, we're going to be hosting the next virtual event that we have. And this one is how to have stress-free travel, which is going to be hosted July 14th. So 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come, it's Zoom. So the link will be in the show notes here for you to register, but you don't have to come in, put your camera on, participate, get really active, be super vulnerable, share your heart on what you're struggling with. But if you wanted to, that you can, but come in, turn your camera off, turn the mic off, just listen. If it's your first time, get comfortable. And these events are truly extraordinary. And if you want to have stress-free travel with your partner, this is definitely the one to jump into.
And if you want to talk about aligning on a common vision, travel is very important to do that. Oh my God. We talked about going into an evening. Now imagine going into a vacation or a trip or a weekend getaway. Very last thing to say, I don't know why we never brought this up before. What's the opposite of a conscious couple or a conscious single? An unconscious couple or an unconscious single. In other words, autopilot.
Yeah.
If you're out there, you are not on autopilot anymore. You're a conscious couple or you're a conscious single. Otherwise, you would not be listening to the Conscious Couples podcast.
For sure.
And so if you have a partner who might be a little bit on autopilot, let us help. Reach
Yeah.
out. There's a link in the show notes to book a free 30-minute relationship talks or just attend an event. Say, hey, I want to check this event out. We don't have to have our camera on. We don't have to have our microphone on. We just want to listen in. Maybe you're on a walk and you've got an AirPod in each ear, whatever. Make it cute. Make it a quality time, date night, whatever you want to do.
True.
The only wrong answer is to not become more conscious. And it's really powerful because when you're on autopilot, you might drift apart from your partner.
You will.
You will.
You
You will on autopilot. Exactly.
Because that's just how the law of the universe will work.
Exactly. And don't roll the dice when it comes to love.
Yeah.
Super important. Thank you so much, everyone. As always, it's not about me
Or you.
or you. It's about
the
we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is a Lazaros 88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
The we.